Hello, I'm Nikki, a designer at Lamont Bros Design and Construction. We're back in the home of Kim here in beautiful Southwest Portland. Last time we explored Kim's dream for her kitchen remodel, and today we're going to take the first steps of turning that dream into a reality. Previously, we discussed Kim's goals, budget, and her vision for the kitchen. After an initial as-built survey where we took detailed measurements and layout notes of the entire kitchen here, our team started developing design plans for the remodel, bringing us one step closer to Kim's dream kitchen. So Kim, looking at the finalized design plans, how does the layout capture your vision for your kitchen?
Well, I had a bunch of just pain points in my kitchen. So the primary motivation for the design was to make those pain points easier. I wanted the room to be more inviting and warm because we live in gray Portland, and a lot of the year we just don't have a lot of light, and this room is a north-facing room. Trying to get it to be a little more bright and inviting, we were able to kind of move appliances around and play with different schema. Landed on one that was really nice. So we have a lot of new colors going in the kitchen. I wanted to get rid of my old yellow oak cabinetry. We were able to do that. And then your designs, Nikki, really helped me figure out what to do with like our exposed garbage cans that were out here and other things. So we've been able to tuck a lot of that away with new designs that I didn't even know were options.
All right, Kim, so now that we're done with the design plan, can you talk to us about some of your favorite features that you're looking forward to in your new kitchen?
I'm really excited for everything, but one of the things I'm particularly excited about is that we got to pick out this beautiful new piece of quartzite, and it's gray and it has this beautiful veining and it's really natural, and we really love natural features. We're going to be able to use that not only for the island, which we're replacing, and then we're going to actually be able to take the other half of that quartzite and cut it into a custom-made table. So that's going to replace the loose table that we have here, and that's going to be able to nest underneath the island, which I thought was a really creative, fun way to use the space, and it kind of set the aesthetic for the room.
And you like having cooking parties, right? Where you invite some friends over and you guys all spread around. So the idea was the table will kind of extend that so you have even more space to cook, correct?
Yeah. So what I'm going to plan on doing, which I love doing now, but really just don't have great room for, is to be able to kind of move the fridge, move some of the appliances, have a lot more counter space on the perimeter, and then the island can really be used for a lot of cooking space. So we're going to keep the cooktop here, and we're putting in a drop-down hood because we wanted to get rid of the downdraft.
Let's see, what other exciting details do we have? Quite a few roll-out shelves that'll make getting into some of those deeper pantry cabinets that we're putting over here a lot easier.
Yeah, so some of those counter spaces and cabinets that I have now are hard to kind of reach into. And one of the reasons that we're keeping the cooktop there is because I don't want to reach down onto the floor to get my things out of the oven because I do a lot of baking and bread making. And so that allows us, with the pull-out shelves and the pull-out garbage and just a lot of pull-outs and some drawers and additional pantry space that we're gonna convert this old desk on this side of the room to. We're gonna be able to really use that space so much better, and I have just a lot more functionality.
All right, Kim, now the less fun part, let's talk about some of the obstacles and challenges we had through this design process. I think one of the big ones that kind of is the big elephant in the room was the cabinetry. Can you talk about how that changed through the design process?
Yeah, so that I think was definitely the biggest challenge that we had during the design process. You can see that we're actually missing the cabinet doors in the background here, but on the lower part, the yellow oak that was came with the house was this beautiful wood, and it was still functionally working, but it's chipped, it's old. We looked at options to paint it, which we really couldn't do because of the veneer. We looked at options to reface it, and we ultimately decided, let's just make the design with the new features and kind of cover up the old one. We'll figure out how, we can make it look fine with the existing cabinets. And then when you gave me those design papers, and I kept looking at them going, first off, those were wonderful, being able to visualize it, because I'm a really visual thinker and person, and I just can't make decisions unless I can kind of see it in my head clearly. And so that was wonderful to look at these mock-ups. Like we have, I think this one.
Yeah, this is our final, yeah.
They're giving us some pictures of potentially what it's going to look like. And they're computer generated, but they're pretty good. They're better than my imagination was. And I wasn't able to really see the yellow oak cabinetry. I just was like, I'm just not happy with this. It just feels like I'm spending so much money and time and effort, and it's just not getting me where I want to be. So ultimately, we ended up just deciding to replace the cabinets. And the neat thing was your team was able to really figure out a way that it actually fit in our budget better than trying to reface them. And that was kind of a shock to me. And after all of that,
I was too.
After all the pain and headaches of trying to make everything work with the existing ugly cabinetry, I just didn't want to keep the cabinetry. And being able to do that in our budget was so important. And I think it's gonna look really cool. I'm super excited.
Oh, I am as well. So another one of the design challenges I think that we kind of had a little hemming and hawing over is how to address the extraction hood for the cooktop here in the center of the room. We have this lovely light fixture that unfortunately is not staying with us. So we had the opportunity to either put a island hood up in the ceiling or maybe replace the downdraft that pops up out of the island. So some of the options we looked at were a new one and then a couple different range hoods that were in the island. And I believe we were really looking at all the specifications to see which hoods could have a higher clearance from the range top, because we really wanted to maximize that height.
Yeah, it was definitely a custom, something I would not have been able to do on my own or even thought about, is I knew that it was really important for me to have a line of sight. And being tall and having the counters coming up a couple inches actually gave us that extra couple inches we could raise the hood. And that was a creative idea. Again, I wouldn't have thought of on my own. And so we were able to find something looking at several different companies and able to get an island hood that I was okay with. We even had talked about moving the stove over to the wall because I didn't want that island hood in my way. But I think we've come up with a good solution that keeps it light and bright.
All right, so Kim, we've kind of driven a lot of the design process, but I'd love to get your perspective as a client. What are some of the things that you think would be helpful if you were to do this over again that you would tell yourself or a friend that you're referring?
I definitely really enjoyed this process. First off, you guys make it really easy for us to communicate. There's a lot of open avenues for that. They're very detail oriented. And the fact that I had to have every little detail worked out before we even signed the budget contract was something I just didn't know going into the process. I sort of assumed having, an architect father and a construction worker father-in-law, I thought I knew what it takes to renovate a kitchen, and it was just so very different the way that it works in a design and build firm like this one. So we really worked out every selection, and that's where I was starting to feel a little bit tired. I don't know if this sink will work and that sink will work, and is this faucet gonna match the hardware I haven't picked out yet. And so there was a lot of that little detail that I sweated, I think, more than I needed to. But coming up with those selections beforehand, once we signed that budget contract to say, well, now the design is done, there are just a couple little last minute things that we need to work out. That's been so comfortable. And then you have all this time where everyone's preparing and ordering and getting the materials that you can sit with it and say, yeah, I made the right choices here. Or I won't change my selections necessarily, but now I get to think about the paint on the walls. And it just gave me a little bit of a break between those two phases as we head into construction soon, for me to be able to get comfortable with the idea of what we were doing.
Yeah, I agree. There can be a lot of kind of design and decision fatigue kind of towards the end of the process.
I think, and just making those decisions early. I didn't think I would be picking out, the hardware that goes on the cabinets before we got the cabinets. And it just didn't, but the fact that all of that was worked out before we even decided when exactly we were doing the construction was new to me, and it was very helpful in the end. And during the process, it was at times a little stressful because I have never renovated a house before. So I didn't really know what I was getting into. And you guys made it very, very clear from the beginning, but I think just walking through that process, you're living it every day and you're thinking about it. But the communication was really open. I was able to talk to people when I needed to, and I just felt very supported for every step of this.
Yeah, as you can see, we do have some paint samples around, and that is one of kind of our outstanding choices to be made. So I'll be back here for a paint consult after drywall has gone up, which I think, looking around at some of our paint swatches, it's clear that we have too much influence in here to really decide what our base color is going to be. So we're going to wait until drywall is done. We're going to put a couple more samples up on the wall, and that'll be the best time to get rid of the yellow influences of the wood, the blue influences from the countertop, the green influences from our existing paint. It'll just give us a nice clean palette.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is it's tough to make decisions about colors in particular when you have lighting that's going to change completely. That is one thing that was a real big challenge for me, is just figuring out, what color do I want? Even the tiles that we were picking out, or the cabinetry. Is it going to be light enough? Is it going to be warm enough? Is it going to be, the aesthetic that we want to make it feel so at home. And then I also think about what we've lived with for 10 years and like, okay, at some point,
Some point you have to finish making decisions and
so
move
we should
forward.
just trust you and move forward. So,
Trust yourself, trust your gut. Yep.
Yeah, it's going to be great. I'm excited.
All right, we're looking forward to it. Thank you so much for having us and inviting us into your home. For you at home, stay tuned for our next video. We'll be diving into the preparations of construction.